well, this would explain why it's blowing smoke and acted funny. Today, what we were working on is a Jeep with an interesting problem. I actually had one that had an issue with this before. When I first started on these Jeeps, we kind of just got rid of it and got a new one. But here's what we got going on. 95 Grand Cherokee, runs great. It did have a blown radiator. Let me show you this. I started to just fix it with JB Weld, and then I realized that this is not my personal Jeep, so someone else is gonna be driving this. I want it to be done right. So we got a new radiator. I'm just waiting for, I gotta go to the junkyard and find a new bracket for the trans line down there. Aside from that, it is having an issue where when you put it in drive, it starts out in third gear. It only hits first and second if I manually shift it. There's a whole list of things it could be. First thing to check is your transmission kickdown cable. At the transmission side, make sure your return spring's still on there. Make sure it's not adjusted so tight that it's actually pulling on the transmission lever, causing it to start out another gear. After that, I already have a TCM for it as well. These 93 and 95s have TCMs, but then we'll kind of go into that, see if that fixes it, and so on. So first thing we need to do, this is for your lower transmission line. This is the bracket they include with the radiator, but as you can see, it turns right into the lower radiator hose. And I'm pretty sure there's one at the junkyard that's more of a 90 degree. We're gonna go check that out. If not, we might try to bend it ourselves. I got our tranny fitting off. Now the plan is we're going to heat it up and try to bend it a little bit more. I could mess it up, and I could also not mess it up. So I like those chances, but it just needs to be bent a little bit more just so I can get that hose, or have enough room to get that hose past the radiator line. Oh, there we go. That was the perfect amount of bend. Check it out. Now we have room to get the little tranny line back into its home. So I got a little silly with this hose line and I cut this off, thinking that the way that the outlet down there is designed is that I cut it and then just clamp the hose onto it. And then I realized that you're just supposed to take this piece out right here and clip that on. That's okay. Bob Ross told us that there's no such thing as mistakes, just happy accidents. So, went to my local Fleet Pride just down the road, got a 3/8 hose barb and some hoses, reattached another piece of hose to it, and now we are going to clamp it to that lower transmission line. And transmission lines will be done, and we can finally throw it back together. It's another day. Here's what we got going on. I had all of this together, started filling it up, and then the water pump decided that it wanted to leak coolant out of the weep hole. So I had to take the shroud and the radiator fan back off, got the new water pump back on, got the hoses on. So before we put it back together, we're gonna put all the coolant in that we need to, make sure we have no leaks. Then we can put it back together. Then we can fire it up and finally start working on this transmission. I've had this thing sitting in my yard for like a month and I really wanna see what's going on with it. So let's do it. About a gallon and a half. Looking good. That's just left over from when I didn't tighten the hose. Coolant's looking good. I take that back. We have some dripping here. Looks like it's coming from somewhere up there. I mean, there's no freeze plugs up there, so I don't think it's that. But I think we need to investigate. Oh. Look at that. I did not put the heater hose back on. Of course I didn't. Pop that on there. It's probably squirting out the top of the pump. Okay, we're fixed. All back together. We got about 2.5 gallons inside this here thing. Gonna fire it up and then slowly fill it up as it's warming up. Let that thermostat kick in, do its thing. Let me go get my jumper back and we'll see how well it fires up. Running nice and smooth, the good old 4.0, baby. Jeep's been running for a while. Temps are good. It's probably been about 30 minutes. So we're gonna take it for a little spin. I'm gonna try my best to show you guys what it's doing, since obviously you can't feel what it's doing. So I'll like narrate it for you, okay? It'll be like story time. All right, putting it in drive. It just revs up really high before it moves because it's stuck in third gear. All right, out onto the main road. So yeah, just not a whole lot of power. It struggled up that hill. See, we're at 30, it still hasn't even shifted yet. It's basically stuck in third gear. Have it down in first now. A lot more power. That's second. And it won't even shift into second. So it shifts down once I put it into drive. So something's acting weird. Either pressure solenoid's not acting how it should, or we got a TCM that's not functioning. Step number one, unplug the TCM, take it for another drive, see if it gets any better. There's your bolts right there. Those hold in the TCM, so we're just gonna unloosen. Yeah, we're gonna unloosen those bolts. No, we're gonna loosen them and pull the TCM out and unplug it and see what happens from there. She's out. There's your harness. So first we're gonna take it on a drive and see if that changes anything. If not, we might be testing power to this. We can also check the fuse, possibly the throttle position sensor. It's still acting the same. So I do have another one we can plug in and at least try that. The TCM that I have, or that I got from the junkyard, I grabbed from a 4.0 that had the all-wheel 4 transmission, not the 42RE. So the connections are barely a little different. I'm gonna have to go get another one of those tomorrow from the junkyard. We got a couple things to do on this Jeep before we run down to the junkyard and get the TCM. Just want to test some power and some other things. But first, we gotta feed the chickens. It's my morning duties. They were pretty pissed at me yesterday when they didn't have food before they went to bed. So let's dump this in there and see if they forgive me. 2 bags of food. They're definitely gonna forgive me. Come on. Look, it's a little baby. I think they forgive me, so I can have a good morning now. So back on this thing, I want to see what kind of power we're getting to the actual harness of the TCM. So I got my little back probe here and put the key in the ignition, we'll turn it on, and we'll make sure we're actually getting power. If we are, that will show us that we have a good ground and we're getting power, so that rules out a power issue. So we got the test light hooked up. You have a, so if I can do this where you guys can actually see it. Right here is where your red wire is. See, we're getting power. It ties into here as well. And then there's one down here, right there. So we got power, that's a good thing. That means it's getting power where it needs to. Good news, we're getting power. Bad news, that doesn't solve our issue. Still could be the TCU. Didn't end up going to the junkyard because my truck has a misfire that I gotta take care of. So I have this Jeep over here, it runs and drives fine. So I pulled the TCU out of that one. I don't know why I just didn't think about that at first. And we're gonna go plug it right into this one. And that'll tell us whether or not it's actually the TCU without having to buy one. All right, here we go. Oh, we shifted, boys. And we started in first. It was the TCM. Hell yeah. She ain't too happy about being woken up from her nap, let me tell you that much. All right, we are heading an hour away to Pocatello to grab ourselves that TCM. I am in my Jeep. Haven't filled this thing up in a while, and it has like, well, it's not on, but has like half a quarter tank, so we'll see how thirsty she is after 6 months. Oh, ain't too bad considering my truck takes like $100. All right, let's go. Oof. I missed you, LaFonda. I love how colorful the dash is too. You guys like that? Little green, little orange, little red. So I don't know if you guys can see all that smoke behind me, but it could just be blowing out old oil because it's been sitting for a while. So it could just be clearing out the system, but I don't know. It might be time to do that intake manifold gasket, check out the valve seals and all that. Something new has developed with LaFonda here. I had the transmission rebuilt because it was having issues shifting, and again it's having issues shifting. Let me show you guys what I mean. I'm coming up to a stop sign right now, but I'll show you what I mean here in just a sec. All right, look at this. Second gear. That's not good. Something's going on. Well, this would explain why it's blowing smoke and acted funny. I think, judging from how wet everything is, I blew a transmission line somewhere. There's two on the transmission up here, but I can't really see clearly where it's coming from. So I'm not sure. It might actually, you know what? I think it's coming from the cooler itself up here. Shoot. Let's go get this part in the junkyard because we are here. And then we will worry about this because that's a problem. Look how bad that is. It's all over. That's shiny because that has transmission fluid all the way up to the window. I really blew something up. It's all over the fender well, soaked in the rear fender well. So it's been leaking for, I think, the whole trip up here. Hopefully I didn't just burn out my new transmission. Whatever, got the parts I need. These two right here are both 95, so I just pulled both of them because I'm an hour away, and then I'll have an extra for if I get another one in with the same issue. Anyways, so since I'm conveniently stuck in this parking lot until I figure out what's wrong or which transmission line blew, figured I'd walk around, see if there's any other V8 ZJs here. If there is, great. If there's not, shit. Because, well, I would take parts from it to hopefully fix that in the parking lot. If there's not one here, I could probably still find something to piece the line back together, assuming it's not a hard line. I really think it's the line on the cooler because that one's been leaking for a while. So I'm gonna wander around here just to see if there is any V8 Jeeps, and we'll go from there. So I believe we found our issue. Started up the car and it's leaking from right there. It looks like that connection actually came off of the radiator side transmission port. So I'm gonna try to push that back on, see if that solves my issue. Got it clipped back on. Let's start it up, see if it still leaks. Got a little bit leaking. I wiped it off. It was looking okay. So we called Napa. They brought me 4 quarts of fluid. All 4 quarts went in, and I'm still about half a quart to a quart low. So I lost about 5 quarts on the way here, which is not good news. So hopefully the transmission's still okay. We're gonna drive over to the auto parts store, get another quart, fill it up, then make the hour drive home. Just got to Napa, 4 quarts in, nothing on the dipstick after that little drive. So I lost probably about 6 quarts. Holy shit. 6 quarts later, we're full of transmission fluid, still off by about a half quart. So 6.5 quarts. I'm surprised this thing was even still moving by the time I got to U-Pole. And there's the proof. They are all empty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I got an extra funnel out of it. Can never have too many of those. 20 minutes in. Now you can't see that, but we're holding at about 145 degrees on the training temp, which is way better than our 220 on the way here. She's shifting good still. She's holding speed. She's not fluctuating on the RPMs. So I'd say we're good to go. We still got 20 minutes left though, so I'm not gonna jinx it too much. Made it home, no issues. Tranny line still attached. Hell yeah. I am good at what I do, and that's filling up fluid. So now we can take these TCMs, we'll plug one in, make sure she works, take it on a drive, finish this thing up. So I think this is the one we're gonna start with. This one only has 160,000 miles on it, assuming it's the original to that Jeep. Test 1. She shifts. Can we hit that 3rd gear? Ooh. Okay, give me a 4th. Ooh, 4th gear, perfect. 70 miles an hour, no problem. Overdrive's working too. Everything's going good except the speedometer stopped working now. Man, every time this video is about to come to an end, another little thing happens on this Jeep here. So, with the speedometer not working, we are going to do what we did last time. We're gonna pull parts off of this one to test. So I'm gonna take the speed sensor out of the transfer case. We'll go hook it up into the parts Jeep, that's basically what it is, into the other Jeep, see if it works, and if it does, we'll buy a new one. So a speed sensor from this puppy won't work because it's an all-wheel drive transfer case. So I did just remember though that I have the transfer case from my old Dakota sitting in the garage. It's a 231. If I recall correctly, it's an 88, and that transfer case should be the same as the XJ and the ZJs in that same generation. And that's a negative because this one's cable driven. Dang it. Well, this will be a good stopping point for this video. We got the transmission shifting again. It's still shifting great. We got the radiator in, the water pump in, and we fixed my transmission because that decided to give me issues. So 2 transmissions in one video, guys. This is just showing you how reliable these Chryslers are, and they'll never let you down, ever, okay? They will, but super easy to work on. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you had fun watching it. We'll see you next time.